Hello, everyone. I'm glad to hear and see that you are here joining this live transmission today. So, this transmission is for all the subscribers and members. I'd like to appreciate everyone who joined live. If you feel like you benefit, you may always support by donating through Super Thanks. This also allows you to win a book, a free hard copy book of Siddha Parampara that includes all the 6 parts. Anyways, I hope that the chat is connected because it looks like something is not correct. Does anyone have a problem writing? Hello? Does everyone hear and see me well? Anyways, so I don't know what happened to the chat, but it doesn't really matter. So let's start our stream. Sorry for this situation. Now, the frequency we are going to transmit here is with the purpose to return to authenticity. So the main point of this transmission is to realize how to and where does the activation of sacred chamber leads. So most of us start this journey with the desire to become great. So we always step on a spiritual journey with some kind of an ambitious desire to become great, to be recognized for something, to feel that we are something different than the rest of the people. And usually these kind of ideas lead us to a lot of challenges in life. So in terms of achievement, yoga is for disillusionment. Yoga is to return to authenticity. Yoga cannot be practiced, and once you awaken to this natural state of being, you shift in perspective of who you really are, to yourself, to the world, and the world or the world's validation has no longer any meaning for you, or not as much meaning as you used to put on it. So the sacred heart, the sacred chamber, third eye, subtle breath, Vasi Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Samana, Samadhi, Shiva Yoga, Sahaj Yoga. Any of these terms are just names, different synonyms of one and the same phenomenon, is when you have activated to your natural being. Now, the guru, the guru is the state of consciousness. Once you've experienced yoga, you don't want to become great, because all such thoughts, all such notions, all such ideas dissolve. And there is simply peace, blissful being, higher awareness, and the frequency that other people may interpret as threatening, because it is pure love. Love is threatening to the limited, distorted states of consciousness. That's why when you are around someone with high frequency, knowingly or unknowingly, you'll experience fear, you'll experience a phenomena as if you're naked, or this being sees you beyond what you are able even to perceive. There is a phenomenon that when people come to certain a little bit more advanced spiritually beings, or some types of, saints, you may say. Many of these saints are man-made, of course, but if they're really aligned beings, very few beings. So if you come in front of them, you might feel intimidated. They do not have or transmit emotional love. They transmit high frequency, that is the frequency of creation. And the frequency of creation, the only frequency of creation, is love. But this is not the same type of love that you are used to. It is something that dissolves illusions, delusions, and instantly humbles you down, returning you to the authentic state of being. And the authentic state of being is absolute acceptance and surrender. And this is the only state when you experience yoga. If you practice surrender, if you practice certain things, there is a duality. It's like you attempt. Now, subtle breath cannot be practiced, because subtle breath is the outcome. It is the state of inner alignment that we're here trying to tune in and transmit, right? And connect through. You cannot teach or learn by imposition. You can only teach and learn through connection. And the more people realize it, and I mean people, souls, living souls, realize that, the sooner they awaken from the slumber, from the idea of a spiritual journey, into the being a spiritual journey. A lot of people want to be validated, want to achieve something. The beings who actually become true gurus, or are seen, perceived as true gurus, are known as such by emanation, because they've opened their upper chamber to creation. Their own higher consciousness allowed them to connect to creation, because the higher consciousness is our true guru, our true teacher. And it's the key to creation. This is the fundamental point in all the Siddha teachings, beyond names and forms. If you are aligning with your higher consciousness more and more, and this alignment humbles you down, you may open a possibility for yourself to connect to a living teacher, which is very rare at this point. Yes, we have a mass of all kinds of teachers, guides, but the real teacher is not the one who says they are the teacher. It's the consciousness, it's the frequency that defines them. They themselves are always a permanent student of life, and the servant of creation. To be in a leadership position in any area of life, and in terms of spirituality, means to hold, to contain that frequency, to be aligned with it, and to create change without intention, to teach without intention, to heal without intention. Yoga cannot be replicated. Very few beings are yoga, and some beings are in yoga and out of yoga. Because when you're in yoga, you are experiencing subtle breath. You are naturally, spontaneously relaxed, absorbed, having natural, without a need to practice Shambhavi Mudra. You don't even need to use Indian or the Sanskrit ancient terms. It doesn't matter which language you speak. Language allows to connect, to align the mind that knows verbal encoding of reality and translate it into, or that submits into this non-verbal space. When the mind is silent, it perceives the essence, and for the world this essence is void, emptiness, but it's very blissful. The body surrenders to this state and experiences profound relaxation, allowing the natural state of regeneration of cells and systems to take place. That's why the cultivation of absorption or subtle breath or yoga is essential for longevity. The problem is restlessness. We are too much in tune with the worldly frequencies. There's nothing bad or wrong with the world. The world is only a reflection of the cumulative collective consciousness. It is what it is. But these vibrations are of dispersing and fragmenting nature. It means they take you out of the natural into dispersed. And that's how you lose energy. You think that the loss of energy is happening on the physical level. That's why we have all these false teachings about preservation of energy, which is mostly focused on stimulating, overstimulating body, restraining body, depriving it. The body itself is a beautiful child of life. It holds this life from the start. It's innocent. But the way consciousness navigates it defines its destiny. The choices that consciousness makes. And it's the consciousness that's in bondage of the world and its energies because it succumbs to the energy of dispersion, fragmentation. And that energy of dispersion, fragmentation, we call negative or parasitic. But after all, it has nothing to do with anything negative. It's just a tendency of consciousness because consciousness can be in that mode. The issue is if it's in that mode for a very long time. If it's always in that mode, it will cause depletion, premature decay, because the electromagnetic shield of the body, the spiritual field, the auric field, is going to deplete and open the pathway to the forces of the natural world, which aim at decomposition, transmutation of energy and matter into different forms. Somebody's body becomes somebody's food. And in order to prevent this process or slow it down, we are to align with something that is immortal, the essence of who we are. And this where the whole idea of awakening and spiritual journey arises, because what we are trying, the whole spiritual journey consists of this desire to remove everything, to dissolve everything that causes constant dispersion, constant loss of energy, circumstances, surroundings. It doesn't mean that the journey aims at constantly isolating ourselves, but it teaches us to confront and face all kinds of fluctuations while being aligned with the higher being, so that we can take ourselves out of these states of loss. The moment you take yourself out of the state of energetic loss, you become extremely potent again. You return to the authenticity, to the relaxed state. And when, as long as you are in this state, you will cultivate the so-called natural being. You may call it also thoughtlessness, meditative state. Meditation does not intend to run away from thoughts. It cannot even occur if you are not awakened to that which is yoga alignment or thoughtlessness. You have to awaken and recognize it. There has to be a recognition so that you've gained a reference point. And only after you've gained that reference point, you may continue cultivating. Cultivation means you continue returning yourself to the thoughtlessness. How do you do this? You simply let go of control, holding on to outcomes, cultivation of fear. If you let go of the cultivation of fear and control, you will return by default into your natural state. And this state will continue replenishing yourselves. So the thing is that we are still, no matter how advanced we are, we're still a part of the world and its forces. It is a challenge to be a vehicle of high frequency, or to support this high frequency even after the awakening, and even when you understand the whole process, which is actually very simple. The challenge lies in your ability to return and cultivate, and to let go of all the most essential distortions, which are on the level of ideologies, beliefs, because these are the areas which cause the most of dispersion without you even realizing that. So freeing yourselves from any type of beliefs or ideas about reality or judgment or assumptions will allow you to remain in this higher frequency state of yoga for longer times. And even if you're facing certain challenges, you will be able to again come back to that. Now, most of us breathe before awakening in different ways. A lot of people have issues, misalignment, disease state of the mind and body, where they are mouth breathers, or their breath is very shallow from the chest, and they would need to re-educate themselves, first of all, to breathe rhythmically and from the belly through the diaphragm to the chest and the lungs and back. So that is usually the essential point when you start an original, not an original, a traditional yoga class where somebody tries to teach you how to breathe rhythmically. But yoga is not about practicing breathing just to return to the relaxed state for 2 minutes. Yoga starts with the awakening and the recognition of the state of alignment, where suddenly you observe that you're so absorbed, blissful, natural, relaxed, and somehow the breath, as I described it in the book Siddha Parampara, instead of being an external phenomenon, becomes an internal phenomenon that almost subsides. Now there are various levels of absorption to the point where one of the most profound levels of absorption would be when the consciousness or mind consciousness leaves or exits the body by will. So, and can return back. Now, most of the people will experience just different levels of absorption, and these levels are not something that is defined by anyone. They're just seen from the standpoint of length in time. Now, the deeper you go, the more you are aligned with the so-called deep sleep state. And in a deep sleep, you're extremely relaxed, but in this, when you awaken, the whole word or idea of awakening is because you become conscious or you feel awakened in a deep sleep. So let's say if I'm yoga or in yoga, I'm speaking now, I'm aware, but I'm in a deep sleep or as relaxed as if I were in a deep sleep state. Now, can it be practiced? The only way you can practice is to retain that sort of conscious awareness and not to fall into the unconscious dreamlike or deep sleep states. And when you awaken, and as a beginner, this will be a challenge because you may have these very relaxed states, and at the same time, you will not be able to easily come out of them. And that will be your goal, to learn to align with these states so that they do not create any issues in your life, so that you can function, so that you can actually learn, work, do your chores while being still relaxed as if you're sleeping, but you're not sleeping. Your body will be active. This is the only point of practice that I could actually name in terms of yoga. Now, if you want to train your body, stretch your body, then call it gymnastics or yogic therapeutic gymnastics, but that is not yoga. If you want that gymnastics to be effective, then be in the state of yoga. But when you're in the state of yoga, you don't want to move much. And even if you can take care of certain household chores or do certain activities like walk or do something else, you will not want to actually move fast when you are in a state of yoga, because you're very deeply relaxed, right? So gymnastics is not yoga, and call it martial arts. If you want direct energy somewhere through your breath, or you want to use the science of breath for some type of an improvement in the body, you want to bring energy into one part of the body and remove it from another to balance it out. Yes, you may do this, but these are some type of breathing arts, spiritual arts, but that's not yoga. Now, when you're yoga, you open up to the unconditional space of consciousness. You have access to things, to information, knowledge effortlessly, because you lost the desire to be anything, to be great, to be teacher, to be healer, to be anything. As long as you have these desires, you cannot gain the key to creation. And you will always be a slave to this world, because this world will try to lure you into its limited, distortive paradigms. Do things that you're good at in the world, but align yourself silently with that which you are authentically. And then you will awaken, and you will cultivate it, and you will realize that subtle breath or absorption or state of thoughtlessness is just when you've dissolved all these ideas about life, that you need to perform, you need to be in a certain role, you need to achieve certain things. You flow. And yes, there will be still challenges, because you are having a physical vehicle and living in the world, which is having different frequencies and vibrations that are much lower than your natural state of being. So I hope that this has brought some clarity. Now, in terms of Vasi Yoga, Shiva Yoga, Siddha Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, all aim at more relaxation, more alignment, activity balanced with the being, and less breath. Now, when people retain breath forcefully, it doesn't work. So, because it's the outcome, the absorbed breath is the outcome. Where is it absorbed? It's the mind itself stops moving. That's why Patanjali wrote Chit Vritti Nirodha in one of the first Yoga Sutras. When the mind, consciousness stops moving, the natural state of the soul, you may say, reveals itself. And the more you cultivate it, the more you come closer to the point of being free, freeing your will from the paradigms of the world, ideologies, beliefs, and from being free to leave your body at any point without having severe damage to it or some kind of premature decay. That's the whole point. But yet these are not the goals that true aspirants put in front of them. All they want is to be pure. True aspirants, who usually end up being true gurus, have only one purpose, which is cultivation of natural, pure state of being. Not to be great, not to be recognized. If that's the case, if that's their destiny, life will bring them as a wave brings something up, and they will fulfill the role. True gurus, true healers, true yogis have no intention to be anything, not to give anything to anyone. Only by example, by emanation, by mastery of frequency, they create a learning and teaching experience. Now, who has a reference point of that? Not very many. Because in the past many thousands of years we've been taught by stick and carrot, creating authoritative dogmatic paradigms of teaching and learning. Action, worship, I'm better than you, you better than me, competition. Higher being has no interest in any human context, but it lives in abundance of itself. Unfortunately today, it seems like our chat doesn't seem to work. And so, I do not know if you can actually write anything. But perhaps it doesn't really matter, because what matters is that there is a connection. Today, this very moment, and whoever comes across this life in future, which is still now, is going to experience yoga, awakening. Yet the experience needs to result in heightened humility level, because something greater than us at this very moment allows us to humble down, to surrender. This way, we actually reconnect with the higher being, which is creation on a higher frequency. And this allows us to pull ourselves out of illusions, delusions, projections, ideas about spiritual journeys, about yoga, about exercises, about all kinds of worship, even about liking or disliking. The sun doesn't care whether some people like its shine or not. The snow falls when it's time to fall. The stars appear, even if you are disturbed by the night. The stars will be there. Whoever is aligned with creation is not preoccupied with the idea of being validated by the world, appreciated or denied or hated or loved, because that is not the same frequency. There is no connection there. High frequency repels or absorbs. You may choose how you want to transmute your limitations by fighting, repelling, or absorbing and transmuting. The second one is more challenging, but it may lead you to a status of a transformer, an alchemist, a master. Yet it doesn't matter, as long as you are in a balanced state, you are able to cultivate yourself, you are able to enjoy peace, bliss, relaxation, health, longevity. That's all that matters. If you live life to the fullest without trying to evaluate it, without self-punishment, self-judgment paradigms within your head, you may say you're free. And this life appears just as a flow or a small stream, because your consciousness is much bigger than a stream. And the purpose of a spiritual journey is to recognize simply this very truth. Once you've recognized it, you may free yourself from everything that this existence represents by choice, not by circumstance or compulsion. If the sun is shining from within, you are satisfied. You realize you are the flow. And you're simply flowing. When your sacred chamber activates, you may feel some sensations in your sacred chamber, spiritual heart. This is your spiritual heart, pituitary, pineal, thalamus, hypothalamus. But when you're aligned, you feel all over the body the same. Activation may happen from here and give sensations in different parts of the body. And while you're going through the process of refinement from all kinds of parasitic energies, subtle and physical, you may have different perceptions. The purpose is not to get fooled by these perceptions, not to try to explain them, but to allow them to happen and to allow them to end up in purgation. Transmutation and purgation. Once you've aligned, there is overall blissful, warm being. Your body doesn't feel anymore as if one part of it is separate from the other, or your feet are cold and the head is magnetic or pulsating. You feel just perfectly aligned and relaxed, filled from within with inner joy. You perceive every cell pulsating, vibrating with that high frequency. Then your yoga. Then the task is to act from this state towards the external form of life, towards different worldly activities. When people look at yoga as some kind of a phenomena that has different stages and forms, there is delusion, there is confusion. Oh, I need to practice subtle breath now. Oh, I need to practice Shambhavi Mudra. When you're yoga, all these things happen automatically, spontaneously aligned. There's no need to practice anything. Now, yet, when it's not your time, you will never even recognize this or come across it. It's impossible, because there's nothing within you or within your soul that will manifest this experience. And this is beautiful, because the experience is produced by the consciousness itself, by its frequency. The frequency is itself a protection. There is no recognition of anything external unless it is already within you. All the powerful and true and still living spiritual teachings emphasize empowerment rather than disempowerment. That's why there's no worship, no authority type of paradigms, which allow a person to go through challenges through life without anyone's interference, yet to learn through this higher connection and the presence of a higher example of being, so that you can actually have an invisible support whenever you struggle to return to the authentic being. The higher power, or whichever way you call it, the higher frequency is always there. But you need sometimes to go through experiences so that you can transmute all the barriers that do not allow you to be always aligned. And that's where you learn to become powerful yourself, because every time you overcome a challenge, even with someone's guidance or without, even with someone's support or without, you after all do it yourself through your own body. This way you grow in self-empowerment, but remain humble. And this is how the real teaching is happening, through frequency, through connection, through cultivation, and through letting go of the distortions, impulses, feelings, patterns, and acquired modalities of life. Ideas of life, belief systems. Thank you very much, everyone who joined this live. I appreciate your presence. If you're a SHAKTIPAT stream supporter or a YouTube member, thank you very much for supporting, for making it possible to continue with these activities. Sorry again for today's situation with the chat. It's beyond my capacity to change anything at this point. You may always email me or book one-on-one for personal guidance. Thank you very much for being here. Sending you many blessings and best wishes. If this touched you, cultivate it, remember it, and learn to let go of everything that prevents you from experiencing your natural being, the original state of yoga. Thank you. Bye-bye.